Hello everybody, and welcome to episode 7 of Designers Learning jQuery. Today's going to be a quick podcast. We're just going to go over some of the built-in animations that come with jQuery. Now, of course, you can build your own custom animations with jQuery, but there's actually the most common animations that you want to use come already built into jQuery. So let's take a look at how we can use those. So I have here our starting HTML file, and we're just going to make a really simple file. First, we'll add a heading so that we can keep track of what we're doing. So we'll just say jQuery built-in animations. And then we'll go ahead and create a definition list, and we're going to give that a class of show. And inside there, we're going to go ahead and say show, and then we'll say show me. Then we'll create a definition list with a class of slide and DT called slide, and we'll say slide me. And finally, a definition with a class of fade, and we'll put the definition term as fade and the definition as fade me. So that's all the more that we're going to do in our HTML file. So let's go ahead and take a look at what that looks like. And you can see it's very simple. So we just have a show with show me, slide with slide me, and fade with fade me. And what we're going to do is activate the animations when we click on the definition title. So when I click on show, it will show or hide the show me, slide will slide the slide me, and fade will fade the fade me. So next we're just going to add some styles really quickly with CSS to make that even more obvious. So since something will happen when we hover over the definition title, we'll go ahead and add a cursor to that so that it looks like it's interactive. And then our definition, we're going to go ahead and style that just a little bit so that we can really see it and see what's happening with our animations. So we'll make the background midnight blue, the color white, and then we'll just give it a height of 100 pixels, a width of 100 pixels, a line height of 100 pixels, which will vertically center our text in the box since it's only going to be one line of text. And then we'll go ahead and put a little bit of a margin around that. And finally, we'll text align center. So then our text will be completely in the middle of the box. And then I just have one more little CSS class that I'm going to include here, which is just going to hide whatever it happens to be attached to. And you'll see why we added that in just a minute. So let's go back over to the browser and refresh the page. And now you can see we've got 3 boxes, and my browser window is magically the perfect size to show all 3 of them. I didn't even do that on purpose. And you can see when I hover over the definition titles, the cursor changes to the pointer so that it's really obvious that we can click on things. So now let's pop over into our JavaScript file and let's go ahead and write our JavaScripts. So the first animation that we'll take a look at is the show, which is also accompanied with hide. So we have a show and hide. Let's go ahead and select that definition list with a class of show. Select the definition title inside of that, and we're going to add a click event because we want something to happen when we click on that definition title. So then we'll go ahead and open up our function, and now inside of this function we're going to say this, which is the thing that we just clicked on, and we'll get the next thing, which should be a definition, and we'll hide it. So hide is the first built-in animation that we're taking a look at. And if we refresh this in a browser and we click on it, you can see it just absolutely disappears. So it's completely gone off our page immediately. Now, of course, clicking again doesn't do anything because we haven't written any JavaScript code to show that. Now, in order to show you show, the item has to be hidden first. So let's pop back over here and put a class of hidden. So that now this definition will be hidden by default. And I'll go ahead and just comment this out and copy the line and change this now to show. So now if I refresh this page in a browser and I click on show, that box pops into view. So that's how to use show and hide. Now, of course, we also have the ever so handy toggle method, which will just alternate showing and hiding. And I can pop back over here and remove this class of hidden. And now if I refresh in the browser, you can see that since I removed the hidden class, the box is visible by default, and I click show and it hides. I click it again and it shows. So it just toggles back and forth between show and hide. That is the built-in show and hide animation. Next, we'll go ahead and move to the next one, which is slide, which we actually saw last week when we built our accordion. But let's just review really quickly how to do that. So we'll do the same thing again. We'll select the definition list with the class of slide, get the DT inside, and say on click, if I can spell click correctly. And there we go. And now we just want to say this next slide up. So if you remember correctly, slide up is the equivalent of hiding, while slide down is the equivalent of showing. And once you see that in action, it makes complete sense. So we'll refresh this, and when we click on slide, nothing happens. So let's take a look at what we did wrong. Slide DT, do we have, oh, there's the thing that's wrong. We have a typo in the class on the definition. So let's correct that and now go back over here. So let's correct that, and now we can go back over here, and now it should work for us. There we go. So you see slide up just shrinks the height of the item in an animation and hides it. And I can go back over here and add that class of hidden. And now if I go to my scripts, I can comment that line out, duplicate it, and make this slide down, which is our show animation. So if I refresh this in the browser, now that the slide box is hidden by default because I added that class of hidden, and when I click slide, it slides down into view. And just like show and hide, we also have a toggle available. So we can call that by calling slide toggle, just like that. So now, oops, and I want it to go back over here and remove the class of hidden. So we'll refresh that in the browser, and now you can see I click it once and it slides up, I click it again and it slides down, and it'll just keep alternating between those two behaviors. The final animation we're going to take a look at is fade. So we will select the fade definition list, and hopefully we spelled this one correctly, and on click, function, and now let's take a look at this. We'll say this, next, and fade out would of course be the animation to hide the item. So if we refresh this and click on fade, you can see the item just animates the opacity to 0, and then it is set to display none. So the item is completely not taking up any space on the page at all at this point. Now if I come back over here and add that class of hidden, and then I can duplicate this line, because of course you can't fade something in unless it's hidden already. So we refresh the page and the fade box is hidden by default, and when I click the title, it fades into the page. Just like show and hide and slide, we also have a fade toggle. So if we refresh this, oops, and I forgot to remove the default class of hidden, which won't hurt anything. The fade toggle will still work. It's easier to see if it's visible when you first load the page. So if you click it once, it fades out. I click it again and it fades back in. Now there is one more fading animation that is available to us, and that is just called fade to. So rather than completely showing or completely hiding an item, we can actually fade it to a specific opacity number. Fade to, we need to pass a couple of parameters to it. The first parameter is the speed with which we would like it to fade. jQuery has built into it a couple of keywords like slow and fast. So let's go ahead and make it slow as our speed. You can also specify a number, and that will be the number of milliseconds that it takes the animation to complete. And then the second value is the opacity that we would like to fade to. So let's fade to 0.4 opacity. So if we refresh this page in a browser now and click fade, you can see it animates the fade to a 40% opacity. So these are the animations that come built in with jQuery. We have show and hide with the associated toggle, slide up and slide down with the associated slide toggle, fade out and fade in with the associated fade toggle, and then finally a little special extra animation in there, fade to, which will let you fade something to your specified opacity. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next week. If you enjoyed this video and would like to learn more about jQuery, pick up a copy of my book, jQuery for Designers, available now.